What's up, guys? Welcome back to another farming video. I would say that it's a happy return for me coming back to the dairy farm, but sadly I have a little bit of bad news to bear. My older brother Jordan, who some of you may know works on the farm probably harder than anyone else does, earlier this week he was jumping down off of a tractor, something that he's done probably thousands of times before, and he just landed the wrong way and rolled his ankle and sprained it really bad. I think it might be like a second or third degree sprain, which sometimes can be worse than a break. I know that it's super swollen and bruised right now, and it's super sucky for Jordan, obviously me and my dad, but I think I'm gonna use that kind of as a lesson for today's video, if you will, if I'm even in a place to give anyone a lesson, but more just like a talking point about safety on farms and stuff like that, because dairy farming and farming in general is always ranked in the top 10 for most dangerous jobs in the world. So it's something that should always be renewed and be brought up in the back of any farmer's mind, or anybody who has any interest in being around any farms, or maybe just want to be educated on proper farm etiquette just in case for some point in the future. But that's going to be something I'm going to be talking about throughout the duration of the video. Thankfully Jordan's mostly all right, other than his ankle is just a little, I guess, a big sprain. But yeah, I'm just gonna go on with my daily routine and kind of talk about stuff that you should and shouldn't do on the farm. All right, there are two things on any dairy farm. Mostly this can go for any farm for at least one of these things, but two things. Obviously cows are pretty dairy exclusive, but the first likely thing to kill anyone or anything on a farm is machinery. And it happens every single year. It's usually young children or someone who's never been on a farm before in their life, or hasn't been on a farm in a really long time, and they go up behind a tractor, then they think someone's watching them or sees them, or maybe it's a little kid running to their parent or older sibling or something, and the child or person ends up getting run over by the tractor and killed, or extremely injured and maimed. So always never go behind moving equipment unless you make direct eye contact with the person who is driving it. And the second thing that is extremely likely to kill most, this is pretty dairy farmer exclusive and some ranchers, is cattle. Because cattle are unpredictable. They have a mind of their own, and like at any moment a cow can decide that it wants you dead, and it could probably kill you in a matter of seconds. And that being said, very gloomy type story comes to mind about my dad. I think I'm going to go ahead and tell it. It does have a good lesson at the end, but you're going to kind of have to stick through the whole story to get the idea of what exactly I'm talking about. I went ahead and moved myself over to our shop here because the hail was kind of getting annoying. But so anyways, my father, on this farm, we a couple years back, we got a cow from auction, and at the time she just looked like a normal cow. She was kind of skittish. We weren't too sure why. But we had her out on pasture, and one day my dad and my brother went to go and get her, and we later on figured out that she was almost fully blind. She was extremely vision impaired, so she couldn't see that well. So she had a bad habit of, if you got too loud around her, because most cows, everyone makes like their different noises, spook a cow along, get them moving the way you want to move. With her, if you were too loud around her and she didn't know exactly, like she didn't have other cows to If she didn't have other cows for reference, she just kind of started running in a direction and like wouldn't listen. But in my dad's experience as a farmer, he'd never experienced a cow that was like her. But in his experience, what had been taught, years and years, a cow is always more afraid of you than you are of it. And if you get big enough and get loud enough, then the cow will turn. Well, Jordan went to yell at the cow, and the cow started taking off one way, and my dad went to get in front of it and keep it from running towards what would be like our slough, which is down that way. And my dad got in front of the cow, and the cow just didn't stop. It lowered its head, met him about knee height, about here with the crown of its head, picked him up and chucked him about 20 feet in the air, completely ragdolled him like he was just a small child, because it was just a blind rage cow. And he came down, landed on his head, and then just laid there and did not move. And in my older brother's mind, that was it for my dad. But all right, the work must continue, but I do have my chest mount, so I can do some hands-free talking about what I was talking about here. So anyways, my dad laying dead on the ground in Jordan's eyes, but wasn't actually dead. He was fully alive, but he was extremely injured, and he laid there for about 5 minutes, and my brother obviously was freaking out, called my mom and my dad in this time while everyone was freaking out, ended up waking up, not knowing who he was, what his name was, and where he was at. Like, couldn't remember anything. They were able to successfully coax him into my mom's car and take him to the hospital. Come on, girl. Hey, get up. Get up. Come on. Hey. And once he arrived at the hospital, he was unable to, like, remember anything. And when I say unable to remember anything, basically what he would do is he would look around the hospital room and ask what was going on, and either my mom or one of my brothers would tell him what was going on, and then he'd say okay, and he'd lean back in his bed, close his eyes, and then as soon as his eyes were closed, his eyes would shoot open, he'd lean forward, and he'd ask, what's going on, where am I? And they had to repeat that process with him for hours and hours and hours and hours until he could successfully tell the story back to my brothers and my mom about what was what had happened to him. And in that same period, when he was getting some of his consciousness back, he was asking my mom where the baby was. And obviously my parents have had a lot of babies, but at the time my younger sister would be considered the baby because she's the last child that they've had. And my mom said, Shayla's at home. And my dad said, who's Shayla? I'm asking about Hannah. And Hannah is my older sister. And at the time she would have been, come on girl, let's go. Let's go, come on. Hey, what do you want? Come on. At the time she would have been about 20 years old. And so he thought that my older sister Hannah was still a little tiny baby girl. Like, as in like a baby. And like his memories were completely gone. And so it was a very terrifying time for everyone in my family, thinking that my dad was gonna be like some 2-second goldfish type person. But with time, most of his memories did regain. I was just talking to him a little bit ago about it. I got his permission to talk about this on camera to, teach you guys a lesson about things on the farm. But he still doesn't remember about like the whole week when we got the cow. He doesn't remember buying the cow, but obviously he knows the cow now. But like he doesn't remember getting rocked by her. And most of you guys will be like, dude, like, what's the point of this video? It just sounds like your dad got clapped by a dairy cow, which he did. But the point is that my dad's been farming for like 40 some odd years. And in his experience of farming, all the cows that he's raised and all that dairy farming, he'd never had a cow that had ran at him like that. And he'd handled so many cows a million times before, but all it took was one time a cow not acting how he expected the cow to act, and he almost lost his life over it. So all I'm trying to say is, if you are a farmer or anyone, all jobs have risks. That if there's any sort of risk in something that you've done a million times before, always to double check and always to doubt yourself in a dangerous situation, because you don't want to be the one time. And nowadays, my dad teaches me and my brothers that if we ever think that a cow is not going to stop, just jump out of the way, because you can always get her later. But if she throws you 20 feet in the air, then you're probably going to die. And he got really lucky. But yeah. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot the funniest part of that story. So the day that my dad got out of the hospital, and we were all excited to see him, me and my brother Zach, my brother Shayla, because we were like the younger kids at that time. I wasn't super old, but the day that he got out of the hospital, he got back here and he was still wearing like a full neck brace and stuff, and he was still like not like 100% there. He was kind of like in and out, but like he was still like in like concussion protocol, but he was good enough to go home. He got back here and he was still wearing like his hospital robe with no underwear, obviously. If you know anything about hospital robes, like they don't come all the way together in the back. And as soon as he got home, he went out and he got on our 8600, one of our tractors, and was driving it around the farm because in his mind he had to check on the farm to make sure that it was okay. And my mom, who she went to go and take a shower because she had been with my dad nonstop during the time that he was in the hospital. She went to go take a shower, came out, saw my dad driving on the tractor, and saw my older brothers just standing there watching him. And my mom was like, what the hell are you guys doing? Why are you letting him drive the tractor? And all my older brothers were like, well, it's Dad's tractor. None of us are gonna stop him. And so he was driving the tractor up and down the road, mind you, and with like his manly parts flying in the wind because he was wearing a hospital robe. So that was the only funny thing to come out of that story. We all kind of look back on it now and laugh, but yeah, it was a pretty funny ordeal there right towards the end. You know what I want to know is how many people saw the title to this video and were just like, yo, this kid's dad almost died? I'm nosy, that sounds interesting, let's watch. And then accidentally ended up getting lectured about farming safety and how everyone that follows me that's farmers, should always be safe because the last thing any of us want is someone getting hurt. I feel like that'd be a funny stat. I know that you're here. I know at least one person like that is watching this video. I know. I can see you on the other side of that screen, you little rat. But I'm just kidding. But if this video does get enough support, I might just do like a weekly story time like video type thing, kind of this style, because I got some crazy stories. Holy shit! That freaking chicken just attacked me. Anyways, it's a good thing I'm wearing triple insulated jeans, or else I would have hurt like a bitch. I don't know what his problem is. But I got some crazy stories, like my brother Jordan almost getting like trampled by like a whole herd of cows. This one time I got burned, like first, second, third degree burned on over like 50 or 60% of my body, and spent like 2 weeks in RV medical. Like, there's some crazy stuff that's happened to some people in my family. Man, I miss telling stories sometimes because, back before COVID was a thing, I don't know if this is just like a Washington country kid like only thing, or if it's like anywhere that have mountains, but like every single weekend you'd hear about a bonfire somewhere up on like a mountain, up in the trees. And I'd go up there and I'd meet new people and I'd tell them like all the wild stories that I have in my head, because like, there's crazy stuff that happens on the farm all the time, and it's just something that I miss doing. But anyways, thank you for listening to my story and watching the video.